mean, obviously, you know, our hand model here is not with pain, so she's fine. But you have someone in pain, and you're like, you know, pushing on them. It's you know, it's difficult for them. But then because it's difficult for them, they move, and when they move, it's difficult for you, right? So the most important thing is making sure they're comfortable, you're comfortable. So I'm a short person. I need to stand. I can lean over and make sure I have good body mechanics like this. If you're someone who's taller, you might have to sit, right? Let's pretend I'm tall. Let's pretend. Oh. And then I'm gonna sit. This is my height sitting. This is my height if I was standing. But if I was tall, I would, you know, sit down and I could be like this. So I'm much more comfortable. My shoulders are back. My positioning is good. So if my positioning is good, then I'm gonna be able to use my hands better. I'm gonna use my hands better, then my orthosis is gonna come out like 10 times better, right? So outside of the positioning, I try to use all of my hand to position and to mold. So if I have my hand on the back and my thumb is kind of making sure that they're relaxed and the wrist is back, then I'm gonna get this part correct, because the wrist needs to be in a slight extension, right? If I'm not holding them, they're gonna pull into that very neutral to flex position. And then I'm so focused on making the splint that the fucking position is wrong, right? So I use one hand to stabilize and one hand to mold, right? I use one hand to stabilize and one hand to mold. As soon as I've got that mold, I'm gonna change position. This becomes my stationary hand. This becomes my moving hand. So I'm gonna make sure that the inside palm is good, the sides are good. Then I'm gonna switch. So then this becomes my stationary hand again. So I'm gonna squeeze gently right here, not because I'm squeezing, but because I'm holding it. So when I go and smooth out the rest of the splint, it's not gonna shift on me. So my stationary hand and my movable hand changes constantly. So at first, this is my stationary hand, my right hand, my stationary hand, my moving hand. I started out, I get it started right at the wrist, then it becomes my stationary hand, this becomes my moving hand. Then I move it and I mold it right up here. Once I get that, then this becomes my stationary hand. I gently hold it in place. This becomes my moving hand again, right? And then I go back and forth, back and forth. It's like a seesaw. Why are you laughing at me? But if you think of it like that, it might help you so that you're feel a little bit more confident, you feel like a little bit faster, and this split material does not give you that much time to mold because it dries really fast. So anything that's very thin is going to dry really fast. But the great thing about this particular material and any material that has memory is you get to try again, right? You throw it back in, try it again, throw it back in, try it again, until you get it. But the key thing is you gotta cut it correctly. So if you cut it incorrectly, then it throws your game off, because then you don't know how, if you're molding, you're like, oh shit, like this is too wide, this is too thin. It's better to be a little bit thin, like to cut a little bit less, get your molding on, practice that, and then be like, oh, okay, I need to trim a little bit. If you trim way too much, then you're always gonna be thrown off in your mind, right? Am I correct? If you cut way too much and then your theater is like woo, then you're thrown off about where you should mold. But it's okay. I mean, the most important thing is getting the practice in and making sure you get comfortable with the material. And the great thing about the two materials that I have in the package is that they're pretty forgiving material. This is the most forgiving material in the sense that it's got memory, so if you overstretch it, it's gonna go back. If you by accident make it stick together, let it dry. Don't mess with it, just let it dry. Once it dries, it will peel off. You can pull it off of itself and then start all over because it's got memory. So when you put it back, it'll go to its original shape of being nice and flat for you. The Tailor Splint material, it's a little bit less forgiving, so it's great because it's a thicker material, molds really well, but it has a little bit of memory, but it doesn't have a ton of it. Doesn't have as much memory as Orthosis. Tailor Splint has a little bit of memory, but not a ton. So if you overstretch this part or if you overstretch this part, then it's not going to go back. So it's going to stay stretched out a little bit, and you'll see it by like how oval the holes are versus how round it is. But you can feel it in the thickness of the material. Normally I say it's okay, you know, just you can still melt it and continue to practice with it, because again, it's just about practicing and getting extra practice and getting more comfortable molding it. You can take a look at this. This is ulnarly deviated, and then it's inflection. See it? So that's okay. You know, it's great because the great thing about with this material is that you didn't overstretch it. You can melt it and mold it again. Melt it, mold it, melt it, mold it. You keep practicing over and over until it doesn't let you practice anymore, especially this part. This part will kind of get overstretched if you're practicing. Don't worry, cut it off. Practice on this side. And really, it's about the practicing of cutting that C. It's cutting that C. This is the hardest part, cutting the C. Not the ear. I have an attached earlobe, so that's what it looks like. Attached earlobe. Cut a C instead. I'm being cheeky. If you remember, I don't care if I make a fool of myself. I pay attention to my attached lobes.